couple of Stanley Cups, really take charge in the dressing room and get everybody fired up. And we came out and we were fired up right in the warm-up, right through the hockey game, and just played, as I said, a super game.
Earlier in these playoffs, you'd gone a few games without a goal, and you were being asked a lot about how you reacted to that. I asked you tonight. I'm sure you didn't need a goal to feel good. I mean, those assists were as good as anything you put in yourself.
Well, to me, as I said earlier, if I get my name on the Stanley Cup, that's what we're all playing for. And as captain of the hockey team, my job is to try to make sure that everybody's feeling good about themselves and contributing to the hockey club. And you know, as I said, to me, assist is just as great as a goal, or you know, team winning is even better. And to be on this team, I just have to make sure that I get the puck to those guys and they'll put it in the net. Tonight, Yeri makes a great shot, and Randy, Greg, of course, and Kevin. All three were good plays, and they finished them off, and it was nice to be out there.
Now everybody's going to say the Stanley Cup final is over now. You're going home to win it at home. Won't that be nice? What do you do to guard against the possibility that you'll become overconfident and think that way as well?
Well, we realize that we still got a lot of hockey left. The Flyers are a team that's got a lot of character, and they're not going to roll over. But we feel confident our fans are going to be very noisy in Edmonton. We haven't lost in our building in a while. We play well there. We also realize that it's a time where experience has to take over, and the older guys have to help out the new guys who haven't been in this situation before, and realize that we need that killer instinct in Game 5, and we definitely don't want a long flight all the way back.
Carling O'Keefe Breweries gives $500 to the Minor Hockey Association of our First Stars Choice. Brantford, they might be getting ready to build a new rink. Once again, our final score, Edmonton 4 and the Flyers 1. Tonight from the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.
This is tonight's winning goal. It happened late in the first period. Gretzky with the puck over the blue line on a shorthanded situation spots Kevin Lowe, who goes in to score the winning goal. Oilers win it by a score of 4-1, lead the series 3-1. Stanley Cup 87 continues Tuesday night from the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. Game time 7:30 Mountain, 9:30 Eastern. Now let's go upstairs to Dan Kelly and John Davidson.
Okay, Jim. John, my looking back at this game is the Oilers really had their act together tonight. Their specialty teams, penalty killing, power play, and just their overall defensive plus offensive play. In other words, they did it all.
When they play a game at a high tempo, Dan, they can play it very well. When they do things well, that includes a lot of different areas in their game. One was their passing accuracy. You saw them spread out and use the entire ice surface. I thought in Game 3, which Philadelphia came back and won, the Flyers closed off the boards, and the Oilers had the puck trapped along there. Therefore, they did not pass it well, and they did not get their speed going. But in this game, they spread themselves out all over the ice surface. Quick, sharp, accurate passing, and then finally, with that patience back there, they opened it up with a good pass. They broke loose, and they did everything very well.
In other words, they rebounded from a very disastrous defeat the other night with a solid effort tonight. Let's go to Dave.
Well, it'll be said that the Stanley Cup Final Series turned very definitely in Edmonton's direction with tonight's victory. 3-1 is, of course, very different from 2-2, but perhaps the Flyers' real chance to make this a series was in Game 2 when they took the Oilers in Edmonton to overtime, but lost on Yeri Curry's winner. The Flyers or any other team would have a hard time expecting to beat the Edmonton Oilers twice anywhere. And the Oilers, as good as they've been on the road this season, did split the two games in Philadelphia here. They're quite happy to go home with a 3-1 lead. They will want very much and will try hard to clinch the cup on Tuesday night. Conn Smythe Trophy nominees. Gretzky put himself into the running if he was ever out of it tonight, and Mark Messier and Grant Fuhr are the two others you would think in terms of most valuable players in these playoffs. We'll have it for you on Tuesday as the Oilers try to win the cup and the Flyers try to extend the series. On behalf of everyone connected with Stanley Cup 87, join us then, and thanks for watching now from Philadelphia.
Tonight in Philadelphia, they beat the Flyers 4-1 to take a 3-1 lead in that Stanley Cup Final Series. Once again, Wayne Gretzky was the story. Here he's feeding Yari Curry for his first 3 assists on the night. That made it 2-0 Oilers after one period. Now the Flyers narrowed the gap to 1 as Brad McCrimmon beat Fuhr on a 50-footer. It was 2-1 early in the second, but that was as close as Philly would come, as Grant Fuhr was once again brilliant overall, stopping 27 shots on net. Edmonton's final goal, Doug Marsh's pass intercepted by Mike Krushelnyski, and he beat Ron Hextall on the glove side. Things got ugly late. Look at Hextall hacking Edmonton's Kent Nielsen. Whoa, a 5-minute penalty for that slash. Even the Spectrum fans got rude at the end, taking a shot at Oiler coach Glenn Sather. I'm telling you, well, maybe the Flyers think that, at least the fans think their team might not be coming back anymore this year. Game 5 in Edmonton on Tuesday. The Oilers can wrap it up. Still a customer today in the final round of the Atlanta Golf Classic. Barr of Canada captured his first U.S. victory since 1981 with a 7-under par 65. Those are the finals of the World Team Cup tournament in West Germany. John left claiming a strained calf muscle, but you know what? I think this is getting to him. He has not been the same since he came back from his layoff. And I think it's bugging him because he's such a tough competitor. This week's tip of the tam goes to a pretty tough competitor as well, a courageous man from British Columbia who embarked on a wheelchair odyssey 26 months ago, and he made it to the finish line this week. Take a look at one amazing guy. An estimated 20,000 people lined suburban Vancouver's streets a couple of days ago to welcome their hero home. Rick Hansen, handicapped in a 1973 truck accident, he finished a round-the-world crusade traveling 25,000 miles in his wheelchair to raise funds for spinal cord research. Organizers estimated that Hansen raised over $11 million. How many of us could do something like that? Not I. That's amazing. Up next, musical bloopers.
Apparently, the loss was not so crushing because the Oilers did come back, and they handed the Flyers a 4-1 loss. That gives the Oilers a 3-1 lead in the series. They are one victory away from their third Stanley Cup championship, and that victory could come Tuesday night at the Coliseum. Grant Fuhr was Mr. Reliable in goal once again. He proves that the glove hand is quicker than the eye. The Flyers cannot get it by. Oilers open the scoring 6 minutes into the game. Jari Kurri one-times the centering pass from Gretzky, his 13th goal of the playoffs. Oiler coach Glenn Sather wasn't comfortable yet. He wanted some more, and he would get some near the end of the period. Oilers playing shorthanded. Kevin Lowe backhanding one past Ron Hextall. 2-0 Oilers after one period of play. Flyers get on the board 8 minutes into the second period. On the power play, it's Brad McCrimmon, the point shot, and the Flyers were thinking comeback. But not this game. The Oilers got that goal back with a power play of their own. Gretzky sets up the third straight goal. Randy Gregg gets it, his third of the playoffs. Meanwhile, Grant Fuhr continued to frustrate the Oilers at the other end of the ice, and this is what playoff goaltending is all about. What a save! 3-1 Oilers after 2 periods of play. Now, the Oilers made it 4-1, 4:17 into the third period. Mike Krushelnyski plays the deke around Hextall. His third of the playoffs. It was not a good night for Hextall. Hextall took out his frustrations, and Kent Nielsen, watch in front. You thought Billy Smith had a bad stick. Hextall was given a 5-minute major for that. Nielsen wasn't seriously hurt. And Flyers coach Mike Keenan had some nasty words about the call, but the shouting was all for naught. The Flyers go on to lose this game by a score of 4-1. Now, the Oilers can gain a split of the 2 games. They gained a split in Philadelphia, and Glenn Sather, oh, was he glad to leave. Gets abused by a wild Philly fan as the Oilers head back to Edmonton now with a 3-1 lead in games.
Gord Miller at the Spectrum. For a time, Game 4 looked exactly like Game 3. Even the score was the same. But instead of blowing the lead, the Oilers increased it and moved themselves within 1 win of capturing the Stanley Cup.
We didn't blow a lead. You know, we played a super first period in Game 3 and a pretty good first 8 minutes, and all of a sudden the tide turned on a couple of power plays, and they came on. They really got some momentum, and they came at us. And tonight we just didn't give them those opportunities to start coming at us. We just played such a disciplined defensive game when Grant Fuhr is a great goaltender, and when we're giving him defense like that, it's awful tough to beat him.
Well, I think the difference was that we were able to play with 4 lines tonight, and we didn't seem to get tired. And although we had at one point, I guess it was 4-1 against us in penalties, that the penalty killers were playing well, and they were skating, moving the puck. They were playing smart. We didn't leave the zone until all 5 of us were back, and then when we got the puck, we moved it around instead of threw it around.
I think we kept going at them tonight. I mean, the other night we laid back a little bit, let them come at us. Tonight we just kept going at them, and as long as we were going at them, we had control of the game.
After the Hextall-Nielsen incident, there was some pushing and shoving, and you guys kept your cool. Did you talk about it on the bench, not to incite anything, not to get anything going?
I think that's I mean, we're gonna. There's nothing we can do about that. I mean, we gotta accept that, and sure, the guys on the bench are upset and the guys on the ice are upset, but you know, it's Stanley Cup Finals, and we're just gonna accept that and try to go out and win the next game.
It was late in the game, and you know, Anderson gave me one, so you know, I was going to give somebody one. If I don't give him one, what's he going to do next game? Break my arm? I mean, let's be honest here. His should have been called. You know, whether Andy didn't see it or what happened, I don't know. But Bill's penalty should have been even.
Obviously, the fourth goal hurt a lot because we still felt we could come back, and the fourth goal put us back on our heels a little bit. So you know, we're just going to have to regroup. And like I said, obviously though, you can't get down 2 or 3 goals to a great hockey team like that. It catches up to you sooner or later.
In the stands, the Flyer fans were once again a boisterous bunch. And even though their team again fell behind, they did their best to get the Flyers back in the game.
You can't believe the fans here. As you know, they're really vocal, and it makes it tough rooting for Edmonton out there in the fans.
Well, am I going to be Edmonton news here? I'll tell you what, we were 1 goal down last time. That was nothing. We're 2 goals down now? No problem. We're going ahead. We got this one, too. See it tied up, 2-2. Back to Edmonton. See you here on Thursday. Gord, it was nice meeting you. Thank you.
Unfortunately for the Flyers, and fortunately for the Oilers, that fan's crystal ball was a little foggy. Now the long road to the Stanley Cup is almost over. The Oilers are 1 win away at the Coliseum from regaining their status as Stanley Cup champions. With the Oilers in Philadelphia, I'm Gord Miller for CBC Sports.
I think one of those fans stole Gord Miller's tie tonight.
Earlier on the news, or if you watched the game last night, you know that the Edmonton Oilers are once again Stanley Cup champions. For the Oilers, this is their 3rd championship in the last 4 years, and it's only the 11th time in history that one team has won the Cup 3 times. One member of the Oilers who's been around for all 3 of those victories is veteran defenseman Kevin Lowe, and very late last night, while all of Edmonton was celebrating and throbbing, Peter had a chance to talk with him.
Kevin, I guess first of all, congratulations.
Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it.
Watching the post-game show, I think the hardest thing next to winning the Stanley Cup is answering the question, how do you feel?
Well, I feel really excited this time around. I think it was a little bit different. People were critical of our 2 losses in Game 5 and 6, and the fact that we won in Game 7, it was a classic confrontation between goaltenders, and we really took it to them. It was a great game. It's going to go down in history, and the fact that our name is on the Stanley Cup makes a difference.
You know, I was a bit surprised to hear Gretzky say after the game that he thought Hextall might even be better than Tretiak. How do you rate Hextall?
Well, the best way to describe Hextall is that he hung in there. I mean, every game we were getting leads on them, and particularly in Game 5 when we were really taking it to him. I think we had 15 or 16 shots in the first period, and we're up by 2 goals, but he didn't fold under pressure, and I've seen a lot of goaltenders in our history just fold under the fact that we give them so many shots, but I mean, Tretiak's been one of the greats of all time, and compared to Hextall, well, coming from Gretzky, that's a great honor, I guess.
I remember in the Philadelphia-Montreal series, there was some talk that some of the Montreal players were getting hexed by Hextall. That was a favorite headline in this part of the country. I wonder if that happened to you guys at all. Did you ever reach a point where you thought, we're not going to be able to get it past this guy?
No, it was somewhat different than Billy Smith 4 or 5 years ago when we first went to the finals. Hextall was making great saves, but he was making the saves after we were getting leads, so we knew we could score goals on him. We knew some of his weaknesses, but he was the difference when we were up by a couple goals, and instead of us blowing them out of the water, the Flyers were chipping away and getting back into it. But Smith a couple of years ago, we just couldn't put anything by him, and I guess the difference between Smith and Hextall is the fact that you know, Hextall kept the Flyers into it.
I think most experts think of the Oilers as freewheeling, high-scoring, but this year you guys did it on defense at least as much as offense.
Well, we knew going into the playoffs that we'd have to change our style somewhat. Our coaches believe that that a good offense is a great defense, and part of our high-flying style is the way we forecheck and the way we force the opposition into making mistakes, and we're capable of capitalizing on them. But in the Detroit series, the Winnipeg series, and the LA series, we had to, particularly in the Detroit series, we had to play strong, disciplined hockey and be patient. And that was a word that was thrown around the dressing room an awful lot. Be patient, don't get over anxious, don't try to blow them out in the first period. And it was most evident in tonight's game. We were getting ample opportunities, we were getting lots of chances, we couldn't put it by Hextall, but we were maintaining our patience.
June 1st, it's a long season, eh, Kevin?
It's extremely long, but to finish it off this way is the only way to finish it off, as far as I'm concerned. We came to the game tonight. We knew that this was the last game, that tomorrow was holidays, and we knew that last summer was difficult because we lost. We didn't want to have to make excuses, and now there's no more excuses.
What are you going to do this summer?
I'm going to travel. I'm going to enjoy the sunshine. I'm going to reap the benefits of being a Stanley Cup champion once again.
Thanks for some great hockey. Congratulations again, Kevin.
Story last night. That's because rowdy fans got out of hand celebrating their team's Stanley Cup victory. More than 2,000 fans were still partying on the streets late last night. The scene eventually turned ugly as police used water hoses and dogs to disperse the rock-throwing mob.
Thanks very much, Doug. The party mode has turned down a notch or two, although the players are no doubt still savoring the fruits of victory. The celebration, the public one at least, resumes tomorrow with a parade and rally. ITV will be there live tomorrow night. One can only hope the fire hoses won't be needed. It was a third Stanley Cup in 4 years for the Oilers, and for some, this victory was the sweetest, if only because the obstacles were more difficult to overcome. The Oilers ended the '87 season in dramatic fashion in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and no one was more excited to be in Lord Stanley's candy store than Marty McSorley.
Hit a great play in the corner. Hey, it just happened. Lemmer! Dude, unbelievable. Great. Oh. Marty, before the... I need a towel, guys. Champagne in my eyes. Marty, let me use your coat, bro.
McSorley, who played the best hockey of his career in the final, was one of 6 Oilers dressed who had never experienced the thrill of winning a Stanley Cup. Others included Reijo Ruotsalainen and Craig Muni.
Unbelievable. It's, all I've been describing all night is what a difference a year makes.
You know, this is a great feeling to be here now, and you know, I couldn't dream about this kind of thing happening to me, and you know, I have to say, you know, thanks for the Phil Esposito. He traded me over here.
Defenseman Randy Gregg came out of retirement to claim his 3rd Stanley Cup ring. Gregg will consider calling it quits again this summer, but last night he was enjoying the moment.
Even if I had been in retirement, though, I would have been cheering as hard as possible for the Oilers. The group of players that we've amassed has got a lot of class, I think, a lot of respect for the other teams, but we had a great deal of self-confidence that if we played a 60-minute game, we'd come out successful.
Jari Kurri scored the winner in the second period last night, likely overtaking his goal in Game 2 as the biggest one of his career. Kurri admits he had a few butterflies before Game 7.
Not too nervous, you know. We had a lot of guys who've been around a lot, and being not maybe this kind of situation, but it's our 4th time in the finals, so you know that might help us a lot.
Following the game, NHL President John Ziegler presented Flyers goaltender Ron Hextall with the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. It was tough to argue with the choice. The Flyers wouldn't have got to Game 7 without him, but Oilers forward Craig McTavish made an argument for his own goalie.
Hextall played unbelievable, but I'll tell you, our goaltender, Grant Fury, played just as well and stood in save for him, and it's an injustice that he didn't win the Conn Smythe.
Ronnie played unbelievable. He deserved the Conn Smythe, but I got what we want. That's the big thing. We want the cup. We got the cup. We're back.
Oilers coach Glenn Sather called last night's game the best one he's ever been involved in. The Flyers never quit, battling back from a 3-1 series deficit, and they earned the Oilers' respect.
I mean, we came back here thinking Game 5 was we're going to do it then. We went back there, played a great game in Game 6, and they snuck it out again. And we had 2 days to recuperate. I think that was a blessing in disguise, really, for our club. We stayed away from the rink the first day. The second day, we had a light skate and collected ourselves and came out with a good effort.
The courage it takes to come back and not quit in those situations is going to make our team that much stronger in the future, and the experience that they've gained through this playoff series and throughout the playoffs this year, hopefully is going to someday make us on, or put us on the other side of the ledger.
Everybody expected us to win this. It was maybe the hardest one because there were so many expectations for us to do it. And going through what happened last year was a big chore for this team to overcome. But they've done all that. They've overcome a lot of adversity. It was great.
I know I'm going to be back, you know, hopefully play another 7 years in this league, and the Zezzels and Smiths, but it's the guys who've, you know, gave it all their career, 10-year veterans who couldn't win the cup for them, because that's the guys who I really feel sorry for. Brad Marsh, Mark Howe, you can go down the line. Ronnie Hextall played unbelievable. He should have been a cup winner this year, but wasn't meant to be.
The NHL's 2 best teams provided us with the greatest Stanley Cup final in this decade. 2 years ago, Oilers beat the Flyers in 5 games. This year, the series went an exciting 7 as the Oilers captured their 3rd Stanley Cup on May 31st, ending the league's longest ever season. Bruce Buchanan, ITV Sports.
While the celebrations continued here, the Flyers returned to Philadelphia. And although they came home without the Stanley Cup, the fans on hand at the airport were glad to see them regardless.
On behalf of the Philadelphia Flyers, we would like to thank you for your support this year. You supported us great, and we're going to bring the cup home. Thanks for coming out. We're about 10 minutes short this year, but you better believe we'll be back.
A few other notes concerning the Cup final. The final game is expected to have the highest viewing audience of any NHL playoff game. 6 TV networks and 4 radio stations were broadcasting the game. In fact, there was a shortage of television cables when it came time to set up. 392 broadcasters and writers were on hand, roughly 9 for every player. There were over 100 technical people involved and 65 photographers. Now, surprisingly, there were a number of empty seats. Maybe the scalpers didn't get the money they were after. But whatever the price was paid, the drama, the tension, the excitement, and for most of us, the result should have made it well worth it. Well, the hockey season came to an end last night. The hoop season.
Police spokesperson Joylyn Dorash explained those tapes will be used to identify several people the police claim were responsible for inciting the crowd.
We're using these pictures in the film to assist us in apprehending these people so that they don't go on to injure or even possibly kill somebody else.
Have you arrested any of those so far?
Yes, we've made 1 arrest so far, and we're looking for at least 2 other people. And this is the case every time like this. It wasn't the real fans that were responsible for the damage. It was only a few people that decided to get out of hand and wait till the last minute, and those are the people that we're interested in.
The CBC has reluctantly complied with the warrant to turn over the videotapes. Executive producer Terry Field says the media should not be used as an investigative arm for the police. We are now going to show you those 2 news stories turned over to the police tonight.
It was a victory celebration, an Oiler win. Close to 30,000 people jamming the streets of downtown Edmonton. Some Oiler fans, some just looking for a party, mostly younger people. But soon police grew tired of the crowd, tired of their drunken tricks, and decided it was time for people to go home.
Move! Get moving! We're moving! Get that out of the way! Move!
But the crowd wasn't ready yet. It wanted to stay. From that moment on, the party was definitely over, and tension grew as people lined themselves on one side of the street, the police on the other. Three policemen were taken to hospital after being hit by bottles thrown from the crowd, but they weren't the only ones hurt.
You like that? Look, like everybody's just sitting here. All you want to do is have a good time.
Police then called in the fire department to help them, but nothing seemed to work. As the early morning wore on, the crowd grew more and more defiant, inching its way back from where police had earlier chased them. But police weren't ready to give up either. Dozens of arrests were made, but the people still wouldn't leave. Finally, the riot squad was brought in.
Everybody else, out! 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 Everybody out! We're going. Now! Move it! This way.
Hours later, with the help of dogs, the fire department, and police, the battle was finally over. The police won, the crowd left, leaving behind a big mess. Store windows broken, and glass and garbage littering the streets for miles. Rick Boguski, CBC News, Edmonton.
The cleanup started bright and early. Last night's party left numerous windows broken along Jasper Avenue. Police say 19 stores were damaged in the melee that followed the Oiler victory.
It was a beer bottle. There was half of one still on the floor, so I don't know where the rest was.
Joan Spakowski got a telephone call at 4 this morning. The front window of her optical store had been smashed.
Well, I think what they did really wasn't called for. It's fine to get excited. I think a lot of people were. I was myself. And but I mean, this isn't fun. This is damage. You know, I don't think it was necessary at all.
Further down the street, the glass repair crew was working at Wiener's Shoes. The window had been knocked out there as well.
We do appreciate the Oilers winning the hockey game, but it does get a little carried away at times, as you can see with the smashed window here. But I find it ludicrous that people will smash windows in the party atmosphere, so to speak.
Even the men who earn a living fixing broken windows wondered whether or not all the damage was really necessary.
Well, I did my celebrating at home. I didn't go out in the streets and break somebody else's property or whatever, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
I don't think it's the fans that do this, you know?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think if you're a true Oiler fan, you support the players. You don't have to go out and get rowdy and, you know, vandalize and whatnot.
For Edmonton Oilers fans, Stanley Cup #3 is the sweetest victory yet. But for some of the shopkeepers down here on Jasper Avenue, some of the sweetness of that victory was soured by the vandalism that took place long after the final whistle was blown. Kevin Temple, CBC News, Edmonton.
And a teenage girl celebrating the victory last night was
on the front lawn of the City Hall, and they're spilled over across 102nd A Avenue. We've got a lot of people here. Let's go right up to the podium as the Stanley Cup champions are being introduced by the voice of the Oilers, Rod Phillips.
Number 17, he got the game winner on Sunday, Yari Curry. Number 20, Yaroslav Pozar. Number 23, Mo LeMay. Number 35, Andy Moog. Number 10, Essa Tikkanen. Number 12, Dave Hunter. Number 24, Kevin McClellan. Number 7, Paul Coffey. Number 11, Mark Messier. Number 4, Kevin Lowe. Number 28, Craig Muni. Number 8, Wayne Van Dorp. Number 5, Steve Smith. Number 15, Kent Nielsen. Number 29, Rexy Rautsalainen. Number 25, Mike Moeller. Number 16, Kelly Buchberger. Number 33, Marty McSorley. Number 9, Glenn Anderson. Number 32, Darrell Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1987 Stanley Cup champion Edmonton Oilers. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome our Deputy Mayor,
as you can
Alderman
see, there is a tremendous crowd on hand, and it's an exciting time, and also a pleasure to welcome Carla Moog to our telecast team this evening. Carla, certainly a great deal of excitement over the last few days, and this is a great crowd.
This is unbelievable. I couldn't believe that this many people could show up in one place at one time. It's been such an exciting last week, and this is just a great end to it. It's been fantastic.
We also have Lee McKenzie of Monday Magazine and our City Hall reporter Bill Lang down in the throng.
Hi, Chris. This is Lee McKenzie. Bill and I are down here. We're in front of the stage. The crowd is just wild.
Crowd like this. Peter had so many people cheering, screaming, and waving their arms at him since the strike at Daners last year, and he got it today. So.
Okay, well, Chris, as progresses, be talking to some of the people in the crowd here, and there are some very interesting and very excited people down here.
Chris, pardon me, Lee, the adrenaline levels went up about 300% when the Oilers came out just a couple of minutes ago. So we want to talk to these folks, but first, let's go back up to our broadcast booth and Chris Cuthbert.
Okay, thanks very much, Bill. Right now, the Deputy Mayor, Alderman Jan Reimer, is upstairs
speaking to the crowd here. Mayor Lawrence Bacor is in China, and so she is handling the proceedings. And now let's go back to the stage where owner Peter Pocklington is ready to address the crowd.
I see I've got lots of fans. In my travels all over North America, I've visited many, many cities, and it's the spirit of the people of the city that make it a great city. There's no better city in all of North America than Edmonton, Alberta, because we've got the greatest people. Not only do we have great people, we've got a great hockey team, and greatness stems from what they believe in. They believe they're great, and they're proud to be part of our great city. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Peter. 10 years ago, last March, Glenn Sather was named coach of the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers haven't missed the playoffs since then. Along the way, he's won 3 Stanley Cup championships and a Canada Cup. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Ladies and gentlemen, the coach and general manager of the Oilers, Glenn Sather.
I guess I get to be an old fart. I want to thank the city for putting this day on for us. I think it's just unbelievable. I wish Mayor Decor was here instead of China so we could all thank him. But he's probably having a hoot over there too. On behalf of the hockey club, we're all very proud to represent Edmonton. We think we've got a great city. I think we've got the greatest hockey team in the world. Thank you very much.
Please welcome the captain of the Oilers, Wayne Gretzky.
Players, we want to thank the city for throwing this parade today, and of course all you people for attending. I know there's a lot of things that go on in town, but it's nice to see the appreciation of everyone show up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Thanks, guys. They're on their way to reception now at the convention center, so let's say sayonara to the Edmonton Oilers. The 1987 Stanley Cup champion, Edmonton Oilers.
was a brief appearance by the new Stanley Cup champions, but certainly an enthusiastic crowd on hand, and Mayor Lawrence Decor perhaps should hurry back from China, because I think Wayne Gretzky might be able to run for mayor right now and be successful, judging from the crowd reaction. Right now we're going into the crowd, and we'll rejoin Lee McKenzie.
You can have a good time, but you have to...
This young gentleman... Now, Richard, you were at the game when they won the Stanley Cup. What was it like for you?
Well, it's a great feeling. Like, the fans were on an emotional high. They're standing up all the time, doing a standing ovation, and it's been a great time.
What do you think it's like to be an Oilers today?
Well, I don't know. Like, I wish I was there, but I don't know how they would feel. So I think it would be the greatest moment of their lives.
Thanks, sir. Now back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Lee. I know everybody has their own way of celebrating the Stanley Cup and being excited, but it must be unique for the players' wives and family.
Oh, we have a great time with it, though. It's kind of a big release, and there's no feeling like it at all. I mean, there never is.
But it must be a pressure cooker. Take us through the last couple of weeks leading up to the Cup.
Oh, that's a little hard to do. You can't make many decisions. Your husband won't make many decisions, so you have to do it all on your own, which is a tough part for a wife to do. I mean, you know, you can do so much, and then that's all you can do. So it's pretty tough. You can't talk too much, and he's pretty touchy and upset if he's not playing, and really high and off the wall if he is playing. So it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough to keep your family going at the same pace it had been all year.
But everything changed after Sunday night, I'm sure.
Oh, it sure did. I mean, that was just it. You know, you get the feeling, you say you won it. That's all we can do here now. Let's head home for the summer, and it's just like getting out of school. Actually, it's not the same, but as kids feel, it's like getting out of school.
You know, I remember talking to Charlie Huddy's wife after Game 7, and she said, I'm so glad we won, because when we lose our young son, 3.5-year-old Ryan, doesn't sleep well. How do your kids handle all that?
My kids are pretty good. Alyssa, who's in the first grade, handles it quite well, I think. Kids at school seem to really notice her and ask her a lot of questions, and she handles it quite well. She knows quite a bit about hockey and quite a bit about the inside of it, so she does quite well. The little one is that's another story. She's like her dad a lot, and she gets excited like her mother, but is quiet when she needs to be like her dad.
Now, are they somewhere in the crowd today, or are they watching Mom?
No, they're watching it at home. I thought this might be a little too much for my kids, so I decided to get the sitter and keep them at home, and I'm kind of glad I did.
You can say hi.
Yeah. Hi, Alyssa. Hi, Ariel. Thanks a lot, Suzanne.
And right now, we're going to say hi to Bill Lang, who's back down in the crowd.
Well, I'm in a very easy crowd with a fellow by the name of Brad Richardson. Brad, see any of those games at the Coliseum, but you got to see them on TV. Did you have your heart in your throat that last game?
Oh yeah, I was pulling for the Oilers. It was a pretty close game, but I knew they'd win it.
Is tonight yours?
Yeah, it sure is. I missed the celebration downtown the other night, but this makes up for it.
What do you think of your team now?
Well, it's the third Stanley Cup. I don't know if they'll win it next year, but I hope so.
You think it's the start of a dynasty?
I hope so.
Okay, thanks very much, Brad. We've got Sue Whalen entertaining the crowd down here now. Are you going to go over to Churchill Square and take part in the rock concert immediately following this?
Yeah, I sure am.
And it's going to be a peaceful celebration tonight, I take it.
Yeah.
All true Oiler fans.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Brad. Let's go back up to Chris Cuthbert.
All right, thanks very much, Bill. We do have a rock concert which is about ready to start just across 102 8th Avenue. This Fear is the rock group, and if you'd like to come down, I'm sure you'll have a good time. There are thousands of people down in the city square. As well, there is a private reception at the convention center for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. That's why they left as quickly as they did. And also at the Westin Hotel, there is an open reception for anybody that wants to take part. What happens tomorrow for all the players? Does everybody disperse for the summer, Carla?
Pretty much so. A lot of the guys have a long ways to travel home. Those guys from Finland and Sweden, they have quite a ways to go. A lot of the guys are taking off and just relaxing. They want to, you know, have a nice time in the sun, which we're getting a little bit of today, but not as much as we'd like. So I know that we have to stay around. Our daughter's in school, so we're just going to stay around, I think, for a little while. But a lot of the guys like to just head out and go.
And eventually it'll be Penticton for the summer.
Penticton, British Columbia. We love it out there. We've been there. We've got a house out there and been out there for 4 or 5 years, and it's nice. It's nice here in Edmonton, but it's a nice place to go to.
Okay, Carla, we're going to go back down and rejoin Lee McKenzie, find out who she has.
Well, Chris, I have a sort of extraordinary fan here. This is Dale. Now, Dale, what music is playing on there? What are the lyrics?
We are the champions, the best team in the NHL, the best team in the world, with the world's greatest players.
Now, Dale is not afraid to show his colors, as you can see. Now, what does it mean to you, personally, to have the Oilers the world champions like they are?
What does it mean to me? It means we're the best, and I'm a die-hard Oiler fan. Win or lose, I'm with them all the way, and we're going to have the cup for another 4 years in a row.
What do you think the rest of the world thinks of Edmonton?
They don't like us because we got the best, and nobody can beat us, so they don't like us. They envy us.
But at least they know who we are.
That's right. You bet they know.
Well, keep on being a dyed-in-the-wool Oilers fan.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Lee. It turned out to be quite a nice evening after all, although the sun just ducked in behind the clouds, but we were a little concerned when we woke up this morning. It was wet, it was blustery, and the crowd was not that large until about 5 o'clock, and then everybody just seemed to fill up this front lawn, and it just spilled all over the city square, and we had a tremendous crowd out, and I'm sure, Carla, the boys, the players appreciate it.
They really do. You know, it doesn't get said an awful lot, and the guys try and say it a little more than usual, but there's no fans like there are here in Edmonton. They come out and they appreciate the guys, and the guys appreciate them. They appreciate their support. They love their letters. They love to read them in the dressing room, and it's really a nice feeling to show, you know, you come and you play for your city and you play for your team, and that fans like these really appreciate what you're doing for them.
Just as long as they don't plan the parade before they win the Stanley Cup. That kind of...
No, let's not do that again, because that doesn't seem to work out for us, but this has been great. You know, whoever planned this did a great job, and you know, the film crews have been out here early, I know, and out here when it wasn't as nice weather, so it's great to see everybody out here.
Well, we've enjoyed it, and as I said, the evening isn't over for many of the folks already down here. Sue Whalen just concluding her performance, but at 7 o'clock, the rock group is just setting up, and again at the hotel, the Westin Hotel, they will also have a big evening planned for anybody that wants to take part down in the ballroom. So the celebration continues, and it looks like it will be much more peaceful compared to what happened on Sunday night. We've got the real fans here today, the people that wanted to come down to say thank you and congratulations for a great season. I don't think the real fans were out late Sunday night.
I don't think so either. That was quite scary, and you know, you don't like to see that. You don't like to see fire trucks come out and disperse a crowd like that. And you know, guys like to see it. They like them to celebrate, and it's great to have a good time, but going overboard's a little too much.
Carla, I know that there's been talk about Andy's future, and we want to wish you all the best with whatever he and you and the kids decide, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Carla Moog, wife of Andy Moog of the Edmonton Oilers, the 1987 Stanley Cup champions. It's a nice habit to come down here for the 3rd time in 4 years, and it's been another very successful celebration. Now let's go back to Newsday and rejoin Dana Lewis.
Tapes from all 3 of the city's TV stations. They're trying to figure out what went wrong Sunday night and who was responsible. Why this happy celebration turned sour, why this crowd suddenly rioted against police. The rioting went on for hours. 3 policemen were injured. There were dozens of arrests. Police ordered in dogs and the fire department to help them chase people away from the city's downtown. The firemen say they don't like having to help the police control the crowds. They say it's not their job, that firemen, unlike police, aren't in a position to protect themselves. But the acting city mayor disagrees.
By and large, if the police are in charge of a situation and they need some type of assistance, and hosing people down is certainly preferable to any other kind of method of crowd dispersal, I would think. You know, you see in the United States where things can get fairly ugly with some of the situations they have. I thought it was a very reasonable approach, and we should be trying to cooperate with one another.
Reimer says she still doesn't have a full report from last Sunday's riot, but she says she's satisfied police acted properly, that they didn't over-exercise their power.
You know, it isn't an easy job from the police end of it. At the same time, you want to make sure that, you know, people are out there, they can let off steam because there's been a lot that's been building up, but at the same time that they don't become violent and destructive.
All day, police were discussing a plan for tonight's celebrations. They say they want to be prepared if the crowd gets out of hand. They say this time they're not going to put up with any open drinking, and that extra police will be on duty, and the fire department will once again be standing by. Rick Boguski, CBC News, Edmonton.
We will have more coverage of tonight.